People study Acts for clues as to how we can find faith and impact the world like the early believers did. What was their secret? Dr. Paul House wrote an article in which he brought out their willingness to suffer for their convictions. Just Google Paul House suffering and you'll get the link. But there are two things even more basic. One is they were willing to learn. The word disciple or disciples occurs over 24 times in Acts. It marks the New Testament believers as followers of a master who called disciples and taught them and sent them forth to make disciples. The Greek word for disciple means a student, a learner. The early Christians who impacted the world did so in part through the hard work of learning and applying what they learned. But here's a second marker of their identity. They were willing to go against their cultures. Often people dismiss what the Bible says by saying that was just their cultural outlook. Yet while it is true that all the people we encounter in Acts were affected by their culture, those who followed Christ often defied it. They were culturally conditioned, but not culturally determined. I once drew up a list of early Christian claims that defied common cultural convictions of first-century Greeks and Romans. Here are just a few of them. The uniqueness of Jesus Christ as the divine and human Son of God. Resurrection of the physical body, both of Christ and of all persons following death. When Paul mentioned that in Athens in Acts 17, people scoffed. The doctrine of creation from nothing. Many Greek thinkers affirmed the eternality of matter. The revelatory authority of the Old and New Testament over human reason. The intrinsic tie between religion and morality. As you read Acts, note how often the message is opposed as foreign to reigning cultural assumptions and values. While sharing in their culture's views, Jesus' earliest followers could also tell the difference between cultural prejudice and the divine will. Between that and their avid learning of the Old Testament and the apostles' teaching, we can see how they were primed to found churches whose heritage continues today.